Shock and disbelief grip Guadalajara as the minimum wage is slashed. The radio crackled. It was a news bulletin. The government, citing an unprecedented economic crisis, had decreed a drastic measure. Effective immediately, the minimum wage was slashed, reduced to a mere 10% of its current value. Across Guadalajara, a wave of shock rippled through the bustling streets, the vibrant markets, the humble homes. Disbelief clouded the air like the smoke from Don Jose's sputtering trompo. This can't be real. How are we supposed to survive on this? At Don Jose's taqueria, the news hit hard. Javier, his most reliable employee, scoffed. Fake news. Rosa, a single mother who relied on her meager wages to feed her children, felt a chill creep up her spine. Fear tightened its grip.
What am I going to do? How will I feed my children?
Meanwhile, at the Minerva call center, the news spread like wildfire. Urgent meetings were called. Whispers turned to shouts of disbelief and anger. Young employees, many living paycheck to paycheck, grappled with the news. How would they survive?
This is impossible. My family depends on me. How can we go on like this?
In the affluent neighborhood of Jardín del Bosque, Luisa, a domestic worker, listened in stunned silence as her employer relayed the news. Her heart pounded in her chest. Her meager salary, barely enough to support her family in their rural village, was all she had.
What will become of us?
The first week was a blur of chaos. At Don Jose's taqueria, the lines, usually a testament to the delicious al pastor, were gone. People were holding on tight to what little money they had. Don Jose, his face etched with worry, offered Javier the reduced wage, supplemented by whatever tips they could scrounge. It was a pittance, but it was something. Javier, I can't pay you what I used to, but maybe with the tips we can manage. Rosa, desperate, made the heart-wrenching decision to quit, seeking any other work that might put food on the table.
I'm sorry, Don Jose. I have to find something else. I have to feed my kids.
Public transportation ground to a halt. Drivers, their already meager salaries decimated, went on strike. The lucky few who owned cars choked the streets, their horns blaring in frustration. The markets, once a symphony of colors and smells, were eerily quiet. Vendors sat listlessly beside their dwindling produce, their faces etched with worry. The impact was swift and brutal. Businesses closed. People lost their jobs. The city, once a beacon of hope and opportunity, was beginning to crumble. How did it come to this? We were thriving just a few weeks ago. I don't know, Don Jose, I really don't know. A month into the crisis, Guadalajara was a city transformed. Gone was the carefree laughter, the aroma of street food, the vibrant energy that had once pulsed through its veins. In its place, a palpable tension hung in the air, a sense of desperation clinging to every corner.
I never thought it would get this bad. We used to be so full of life.
Petty theft, once a rare occurrence, became commonplace. Thefts from food trucks, a desperate attempt to quell gnawing hunger, made headlines. Community kitchens, run by churches and charities, were overwhelmed. Their meager resources stretched thin by the endless lines of hungry mouths. Scattered protests erupted, fueled by anger and despair, but they were quickly quelled. People were too busy trying to survive, too focused on finding their next meal, to organize any meaningful resistance.
They can't silence us forever. We have to find a way to make it through this.
Louisa, let go by her employers who could no longer afford her meager wages, found herself resorting to street vending, selling whatever she could scrounge. But with everyone struggling, there were few customers to be found.
Even this, it's not enough. What more can I do?
The city, once a beacon of hope, was now a shadow of its former self, struggling to hold on to the last threads of its dignity and humanity. Section 4, 6 months later. Guadalajara is a shadow of its former self, ravaged by poverty and despair. 6 months after the decree, Guadalajara was a city on its knees. The once bustling heart of Jalisco was now a ghost of its former self, its spirit crushed under the weight of poverty and despair. The economic heart had flatlined. Small businesses, the lifeblood of the city, had shuttered their doors, unable to survive on the diminished buying power of its citizens. Only the businesses catering to the wealthy, their gated communities a world away from the struggles of the city, seemed to thrive. The healthcare system, already burdened by years of underfunding, was on the verge of collapse. Malnutrition and its related illnesses ran rampant. particularly among the young and the elderly. Hospitals, overwhelmed with patients and lacking basic supplies, became places of last resort. Security, once a point of pride for the city, deteriorated. The police, their salaries also affected by the crisis, were demoralized and stretched thin. Crime, once confined to the shadows, became a fact of life. The streets, once filled with the laughter of children, were now eerily quiet. Section 5. A glimmer of hope? Yet even in the face of such despair, flickers of hope remained. The whispers of resistance, though muted, had not been entirely silenced. News filtered in from other parts of the country, stories of organized labor standing up to the government's draconian measures. Word spread of the GM workers in Silao, Guanajuato, who, through their union, Cynthia, had secured a wage increase just weeks before the Guadalajara decree. These stories, though few and far between, served as a potent reminder that even in the darkest of times, the human spirit, particularly when united under a common cause, could prevail. Perhaps, just perhaps, these glimmers of hope would ignite a firestorm of resistance, a beacon of hope for the beleaguered city of Guadalajara.